Hello there, Erin here. I have a little scrapbooking inspiration for you. We are going to be mixing the Cheers and Sips collection with Mediterranean Blooms because I have some photos here. I'm working on my Italy album today. So we had this thing on vacation where we would try the different drinks that were kind of signature to that area. So we were in Venice and we're having the Aperol Spritz, and spoiler alert, we thought it was gross. We didn't like it, but I like the memory. So it's going to be fun to document these, but it's this bright orange drink. So it's Prosecco, Aperol, soda water, and they garnish it with orange slices. So, I mean, this is just perfect. And actually, I was scrapbooking via Zoom with some of my customers, and they helped me come up with the idea to mix these two paper packs. So I think this is going to be perfect. Let's go ahead and grab my Versamats and we'll jump right in. This is going to be a double page layout. I already documented with the Mediterranean Blooms. We were on the Amalfi Coast and we tried the limoncello. I think that's how you say it, limoncello, and it was delicious. So that one was definitely a winner. But it was kind of fun to try, the popular drinks in the different regions. So let's go ahead. I've just put down a removable glue dot and I'm building this on some white cardstock. We got lots of bright colors and some busy patterns, so I think a little white space will be a good thing. I have 4 photos, and this one's a 4x4, and these are just shy of 4x6. So with the white border, they are 4x5.5. So what I'm thinking is just having a linear layout here. I'm going to put Bonnie on this end because, both her and her son Cohen are looking in. And I think I'll put this one here, and then we'll do this one right here. So again, a nice little linear design going across. Now I have worked with this paper collection quite a bit. I have several layouts, and I did buy multiple packs of this because it's just so perfect for Italy with the oranges, the lemons, and the tiles. And the blues, of course. I love it for my Amalfi Coast pictures. So I say that because I have a ton of scraps in here, and it's always nice to try to work with the scraps first and see what you can come up with and utilize those bits and pieces. Like there was, I don't know, failed card attempt. I'm not sure why I didn't see that one through. But yeah, lots of different bits of paper here. Now, as I mentioned, some of these patterns are busier, so they're great. I try to pick patterns that are maybe not as busy that are going to be behind the photos, so they're not overwhelming the photos. So let's just kind of see what we can come up with. Maybe I just want a little bit of that pattern there, and then we can bring our photos back in. And then I'm thinking of maybe something across the center here, and then, we'd bring these papers over to the other side. Now looking at the Cheers and Sips paper, I've been using this quite a bit to cut out the little cocktail drinks, which I think will be the perfect embellishment. And then I want to bring in some of the oranges from the Mediterranean Blooms, the stamp was called Citrus Blooms. So these are stamped and partially colored. I didn't finish that, but I can also use the die to cut oranges from the pattern paper. But if you're looking at this one, this paper collection, this one really kind of brings in that whole cocktail vibe. I've been using this paper quite a bit for documenting different drink layouts. So there's also the fruit one, but I think really this would kind of be more telling to the story. So maybe we'll just start with that. As I mentioned, I don't, tend to put busier pattern papers behind my photos. So you can kind of see right there, it feels a little chaotic. So I want to bring in orange. We have a lot of blues going on, and I want to play up the whole orange color of the Aperol Spritz. So I've got a piece of, this is peach pie. And it is, what did I cut that at? It's 12 by 6.5. And my thinking is to run this across the layout like we're making one 12 by 24 style layout, and have it go like that. And then again, I want to bring this paper over and create like a bookend, and then we'll just have this maybe on the top and bottom. So I'd have to cut it. This is all I have left. I just love this paper. So maybe like an inch strip peeking out. Let's bring in some of this on the other side just so we can have that as a placeholder and see how we like it. I am going to go ahead and commit to these papers and get these cut down to size. Okay, I cut this piece. Well, I didn't cut this piece. It was already cut for me. So this is 7 inches by 12. And then I have a 3 by 12. So those are going to sit like that. And then this one I cut at 2.5 inches. So I think that's going to be just perfect for this one running across here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that one down also. Okay, so this one is how tall is this one? 6.5, that's right. So we'll just kind of center that one there using the marks on our verse mat here. And then this one is 9 3/4. That is coming together quite nicely. So you can always use these sketch designs with whatever paper you have in your craft room. I hope that the ideas inspire you and get you creating. And where did I put my other photo? Is it under here? Yep, there it is. We're hidden. Okay, so that's going to go just like that. Anytime I have two pattern papers running into each other, I like to break them up with something more solid like cardstock. But in this case, this is the Country Woods paper. It's the whole collection of wood grain paper. If you've been around a while, you know how much I love it. This is the back side. So I just had these strips in there, and I've used this blue paper with the Mediterranean Blooms before, and it's really like it. So I think that looks nice. And then, of course, we'll do one over here. I might cut those down so they're a bit skinnier. They are 3/4 of an inch as of right now. So we've got this big pop of orange here, but I know that I have, lots of orange colored embellishments that I can carry that orange over to this area. So I love to create like a little frame or corner frame around my photo here. So definitely some possibilities, and you can see how that brings that orange over. I could do my title here, but we have this perfect little spot here for a title. And this photo was landscape, but there was lots of just clutter in the background. So I cropped it into a square and printed it out that way. And I think it's fitting the design nicely. So I always like to carry my embellishments over and to the other side. So just looking at the design, we can maybe just put that there for now. But we still need to decide on our paper for the top and bottom here. But I want to try a few different options. As much as I love this paper, I'm wondering if the oranges would just be more Italy. And again, this is a very orange drink and they garnish it with orange rinds. So I'm kind of thinking, you know what, I have a lot of this. I'm going to go ahead and cut a couple strips. It's not like they'll be wasted, and then we can kind of get a better look. There it is with the orange paper. I just have it set there. Of course, I didn't want to cut it just in case. So I bet you if I put out a vote, half of you would say the, Cheers and Sips paper, and the other half would say oranges. But I'm feeling like, I don't know, this just kind of reminds me of the memory more. And again, the oranges play in so perfectly. So we're going to save this one for another project. I also just realized the green in the citrus leaves ties in with the green in the photos perfectly. So I do think that's a good choice. I'm going to take just a moment to ink up all the edges of my pattern paper. I went ahead and got it all inked up and adhered down, and I added one more strip of the blue Country Woods paper. I felt like it just looked a little off with them here and here, and then nothing for this transition. So I added that. We'll bring our photos back in. And then I did turn to my Cricut for my title. And I didn't want to use Cheers because I did that on the last layout. So I did the Italian version of Cheers, Salute. And I used a double offset. So I created this, just typed up the word Salute, put an offset in white, and then a second offset to get the green around the background there. And you can see that tiny white border on the bottom. I need to, do a realignment on my Cricut, and that should take care of that. But I measured this space and created that title to fit. The name of that font, it's a Cricut font, and it's called BCF Vintage Champagne. So I did go ahead and cut out some of the oranges from the Mediterranean Blooms pattern paper. And I am thinking, we need something to support these photos. So over here, you have this line that kind of stops them from falling off, but I feel like we need something here. Typically, I'd put my title underneath, but I didn't want to do that because we had this perfect spot here. So let's just bring in some of these drink glasses. And as I mentioned, I like to kind of frame in the corner here. So that's what I'm trying to do. And then the oranges will be the grounding spot for the drinks to be hanging from. So maybe something like that. And then I need another cluster kind of over here. I can bring this little drink in here. Now I have a couple tags. These are my go-to embellishments. You can never go wrong with tags. So I have one in white and one in garden green. Let's go ahead and tack down this 4x4 photo here and place that. Then we'll work some tags into the embellishment cluster. So I love using them for journaling and then anchoring embellishments, just layering them. They're really just kind of a nice little extra detail there. So we'll try tacking them in here at first to see what that looks like. And, I don't think I like it. What if we put them more, kind of as a background for the title? So I probably shouldn't have adhered that down. See, that's why I always dry fit things. I thought I was sure, but that's okay. We can just pop that adhesive up. And I do think that that looks cute. I like the tags layered behind the title. Let me get my little citrus bits and embellishments back situated into place here. And I think I want to do some background stamping on those tags. So I grabbed this one. It has this little splatter stamp here. This is called the textured floral stamp. And I bet if you look at a lot of your stamps, you'll probably notice they have these little background stamps or like little controlled splatters. So I want to add some interest to this tag because it's just solid cardstock. So I grabbed garden green ink, which is the same color, and stamped a few of those splatters. Let's put it back into place. I don't want to overdo it. So we'll bring my title back in, and I think we need a little bit more. So we'll just add a few more little bits here coming out from behind it. So we'll scooch the title, give it a quick stamp, and one more. It needs one more kind of down where there's a little bit visible. It just kind of looked like it abruptly stopped. So we needed to add just a bit on the bottom of the tag where it was visible from behind the photo. The oranges are doing a great job of anchoring those photos, but we have this spot right here, and I'm thinking the journaling will fit there quite nicely. So I printed it out on cardstock and cut that into strips. I do have a full journaling tips video, which I'll leave that in the description box below. And I do like to kind of offset these, so I think that that looks nice and really shows up against that dark blue background. So I think I'm going to go with that, and I'll adhere those off camera. But I wanted to bring some more of that green over to the right hand side. So to, carry that tag theme over and the colors, I cut two more of the tags, and now we'll just see how we can work these into the embellishments. That's one option, and it's not bad, but what if we put them coming out the bottom, kind of like a flipped mirror image? So let's layer these, and I know that looks a little weird, but my embellishments are going to cover that, what's sticking out the side there. Yeah, that works out great. I think I'm going to go with that option. Both look great, but I like this one better. I want to layer something right here, and I've got this stamp set that says Good Times, and I think that that might fit perfectly. So that is called the Turtley Sweet stamp set. It's got some nice titles. Now I have two different ink pad colors, Night of Navy and Balmy Blue. Now we have that Balmy Blue in that pattern paper on the left, but nowhere else on the layout. So I chose it for that reason, and we can ink this up. If we don't like it, we can always switch back to the Night of Navy. Let's go ahead and ink that up one more time. This is a solid stamp, so sometimes using a stamp positioner is very helpful with these solid images. And it's a new stamp. I didn't season it, so it would have helped to take up the color better had I rubbed it with an eraser or even on my arm or with my hand, just to get those oils from the manufacturer off of the stamp. I don't have a die for this one, so I'm cutting around that with my scissors, just kind of rounding the corners there. I think this is big enough to where it's really going to make an impact bringing in that balmy blue. So it did lighten as it dried, and let's go ahead and tuck this into this spot and see how it looks. Even though the Aperol Spritz was really not anybody's favorite cup of tea, it still was a good time. So I think our little subtitle works quite nicely. I have the garden green ink again, and I want to repeat that same splatter stamping on this tag. So we don't need all of that tucked back there, and it's kind of bumping into the adhesive. So I snipped just a little bit of the tail end of the tag off and then added a few of those stamped background splatters, and then we'll just slide this back into place and bring our Good Times label back in. And you can see how that brings that color over from that pattern paper all the way on the left-hand side of the page. Now that I have that tag into place, I think it would benefit from one more little splatter stamp there. And then I cut some green leaves using the same Citrus Bloom stamp set. There's several little leaf sprigs there. So I cut these from Garden Green, and I think it's fun to add these into my little citrus clusters here. And it just kind of fills in those spaces and adds a little bit more texture to those embellishments. So we have two embellishment clusters, one on the left and one on the right. And I'd like to put something up in possibly this section right here. So let's collect some more oranges here and see, that's kind of the obvious choice. Maybe over here. I don't know. I like it better over here, but it's not really showing up. So I've got this garden green circle from my Spotlight on Nature dies. I almost forgot what those were called. And it's just half a circle because my scrap of paper wasn't quite big enough. But I just want a little bit of that peeking out anyway. I didn't necessarily want another tag up here, although I could have used that as well. I think that looks good. But I can't help myself, and I want to try it back over here one more time. Now that we have those green sprigs to tuck in, maybe it'll look better. And yeah, I like it better over on the right-hand side. I think with the title on the left, we want to push this over just a bit. Now I still have the Cheers and Sips paper on my desk, and I notice there's green, blue, and green bottles. How cute would those look? I am going to fussy cut those out and use those to make a little embellishment cluster right up on this round circle. The colors are perfect, right? We've got the blues and the orange and the green, and I think that these are so cute and tie into the story perfectly. Now, just for fun, I decided to reprint my title in a blue background. So there is the orange and blue, and then there's the green. They both look good, but this brings in that third point of that balmy blue, and I think that that looks pretty nice. So we've got some word sentiments here on this Celebrate Together stamp set, and there's lots of different very usable phrases. I am going for this one here that says vacation vibes, because we were on vacation, we were definitely vibing. So I've got some black ink. I want to create a word sticker or sentiment to kind of anchor those bottles up top. So I think that this will do the trick and kind of give it that finishing touch that I'm looking for. That didn't stamp quite right, so I'm stamping it again on the bottom. And then we can just cut around this, and we have a perfect little sentiment or wordy bit to add to our embellishment cluster. So you can see at some point I did finish off those tags. I used some blue twine and wrapped it around and tied a bow to each of those. And let's see how this looks. Yep, that was just the finishing touch I needed. So let me hold this up. I did add a little bit of citrus colored gems around those clusters there. And I like the splattering behind the title on the green tag. I think that that's a very fun little touch there. And those oranges are so cute. And how about those little cocktail or alcohol bottles? Is that not perfect? Have you ever tried popular drinks while you've been out traveling and not liked them? Or maybe you did like them. Let me know what it was in the comments below and what you thought of this famous signature drink. Everything I used can be found in the description box. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.